Welcome once again, fans, subscribers, and new people to Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Method, where we have this unique way of teaching guitar concepts and fretboard geometry visualizations here on this channel. And here we go in a continuation of our dominant blues, or just simply stated, major blues exploration of trying to really extract the major amount of expression out of each different chord and how to jump onto these um, basically chords from other keys that without thinking about big scalar um, modulations, different scales, and all these big thought processes. We're exploring how to do this easy and at the same time map out all the expressive points over each chord. Now that was kind of complex. You'll see what I mean, especially if you've watched the last lesson. Hopefully you have, so we can dive right in, and if you haven't, go back. Watch that lesson to really get what I mean here. So, that being said, um, here we go. Try to get this over the camera kind of the best I can on the fretboard. I don't know. That's kind of a small window. I don't know what it does for folks anyways, but the majority of the lesson is here on the graph paper here. So, okay, we've got our fretboard here, and what we went over yesterday was like an area, a territory of the fretboard you could use to easily make these changes and visualize what you need to do to tell a story over each chord. And that left an area of the fretboard uncharted. So let's chart our desert island here and figure out a new place to play. Now, I could have stayed with the key of last week's example. However, my thought process today is we want to solo in the same real estate. But let's say the key was different. In our last installment, we'll call it, maybe I'll rename it part 1 so it's easy to find. It should be next in, a few lessons behind this one by date, in case you're, someone in the future is wondering what other lesson to go look at. That's the best you could find it. If I can manage it, I'll put a link in the description below. But anyways, we are going to switch to the key of E, because E puts us in this real estate again, the same area of the fretboard that we like for soloing, but we're going to need some new shapes because, well, we're now in a different area of the fretboard than we were before. So this is how I would visualize it. First of all, I would understand my one chord is a dominant 7th chord, so I'd figure out, I'd know the shape, and I'd know its root notes here. Our usual channel color coding for our chord is our brown for our grounded root, our tonal gravity. Our outer space note is our flat 7. Our blue sunny sky, or bright blue sky, is our major 3rd. And the grass is always greener with the 5, the vegetation that grows out of the root. All right, I always bring that up, and some channel followers are probably used to hearing that by now, so I'll try not to keep repeating it, but the new people seeing this might wonder why I decided on these colors. Okay, so and the reason for that is, it sounds silly, but to me, putting a little bit of meaning behind some kind of plan behind the colors helped it solidify in my mind to visualize, to have like a color pattern for my fretboard to kind of create one. Okay, so that being said, let's we want to be in this real estate where these gray notes are filled in, and of course that's a mirror image of our chord here. It's the octave up, so that's what I would think first. Okay, my chord is going to be up here, and I know just what to do. I know the 3 shapes I need to cover the 1, the 4, and the 5 to cover my solo. And never forget that the 4 is always is straight down from the 1, and the 5 is always there as long as you're in a normal string shift area and not crossing the G and the B string. That is the previous video. In case you want to see that, I made a video all about that anomaly there. But that being said, not for today. But we just know that the pattern is going to be shifting sort of in that direction. We're just at least our root note. We know our root note is going to follow even if the patterns change, but the next pattern we use is a pattern we learned in the last lesson. So let's continue on. I would basically know there's my chord shape here. So my, the first chord is going to be... of the 1-4-5 series of chords in a chord progression, a blues style chord progression. So the next thing I would know is, okay, yeah, I know I basically have this familiar triad shape right connected to those chord tones. From the 14th fret, root, 3rd, 5th, back down to the 12th fret there, respectively. And then on top of that, I've got another root. Then I've got the 2 and the 3. They're the flat 3, I mean, which is usually going to be played into the regular 3rd. So I got to remember that note is there, but I'm going to have basically my flat 3rd to 3rd trick. Well, you know what? I'm going to start seeing this with some colors is the next thing I'm going to do. To start knowing all this. So, but the first thing is I want to be able to go, okay, blues in E, here we go. And I'm going to need a shape in my mind quick. I'm like, oh yeah, what was it? This is going to pop up first. The simple this gets me right where I need to be. There's my root note, the E. There's the E on the E string, 14th fret. So, okay. The next thing I'm going to know is, where all my tones are. I'm going to know right there's my, all my story tones. First, my basic storyboard tones are the 1, 3, 5. Everything is going to ring excellent back against those notes. Then I'm going to want to know my playground, my story time. How to tell a story with each of these. Well, to tell a story with the 3rd, return to the root. We were toggling that 5 in there, and then we return to the root. So we got basically 1, 3, 5 in that lick with a flat 3rd for tastiness. And there I went up to the 6. You can use those in the same sentence. You can use the one trick. A call and response on its own, and then I used them both in there, or just and then went back to the. So you see there, just lots of options right there. And some other things I'm going to see. I'm going to also make a further lesson, which will show you the way I pull out the in my mind's eye. I've got an overlay of the master chord tones with a. I know the pattern that I know there's some big shapes that I gave names to because they were easy, like a big diamond and a small diamond. And I know where those are, but that's for another lesson. I'm going to skip that and show you another little trick here. When I've got this chord, you'll notice, that's a major triad, so it wouldn't necessarily work in what we know as the Dorian scale shape. But I'm going to show you a little overlay here, so see the exact same notes become grayed out, but you can see this grayed out pattern is what you might know as the... we're right up here on the E. kind of note that could be perceived as wrong is this flat third here. But we know that that's our slide into the 3 trick, which is we have highlighted there. So we always know that we're going to kind of choose that note, but we can mess around in this just if we want to make any kind of quicker riff or put a jumble of notes somewhere for whatever reason, we might want to do that. Remember, we're going to tell a story with that third, so we kind of want to use it as a milk some extra emotion out of the major third by walking in from the minor third. That's or the flatted third. That's what I like to think about. So it's like root 2. It sounds a little more raunchy than it's a little bit, just obvious and plain, making regular steps like that. So anyways, we know about that trick already. Flat third in a 3 and why that works over dominant chords. But anyways, so moving on, we've got our that as an option to kind of, for our mind's eye, to play a little festival in. I don't know. And then, we're back to this shape because now we've got to start thinking about, hey, this 4, by now the 4 chord is, coming up. I've got to start conceptualizing what I'm going to do there, what is the shape I need, and the shape, luckily, the next shape we're going to go to is the first shape that we learned to jam in the first lesson about getting through the blues, and in this particular example, it's in the exact same spot. Maybe somewhat to throw you off, maybe to give you a little bit of, make sure that you're able to visualize these things without cross-referencing other ideas and getting confused. See if you can, handle all these ideas and store them in their own little, memory bank so they're not overlapped and everything is crystal clear, I guess, when you need it. So if I'm going to be thinking about my neck shape, so now I've grayed out where I was. Notice that was, root 3/5 of what we were just playing in. But we're going here. Hear all those tricks again. So that is me visualizing world peace. No, the root was here, right, where the plus sign is, and it went down to this new purple note, just like 1 to 4, because, well, we switched to the 4 chord. So the orange notes here are the notes that were actually stayed the same from the original scale. So these are, possibilities that you can use to get in. If I was here, just stay there on the... So when that... See how it'll work to stay on the 5 through the change, stay on the 3 or be doing something towards the 3 during the change, or move specifically from to that note, to the purple note, from wherever you are. Step up into it, move down into it. You could have been on the orange 5 there, going to the purple. For the, there you would have been. And you hear how that has it's almost like you spelled out the change with simple melody notes. And that is like the light bulb moment where you're like, oh, that's what people are talking about. This is where it happens on the fretboard. This is the sound under my fingers. This is me plugging it into my brain with this muscle memory. All good things. So, and all good things must pass. So I guess that's it for the lesson. No, just kidding. Here we go. Then, I'm going to solidify once, I've got that idea very quickly for the few minutes, or, a couple beats of that bar that I have. or the the 2 bars, the 8 notes that I have, or whatever I have to solo with, I'm going to think about that as my basic playground to get in. But then I'm going to also know that I have this. I got to move some sheets down here. Okay, I have whoa, I have my 6 to a 7. And there's that 4 there, and we don't. You can, what I do, I kind of conceptualize. If I'm going to play something with a lick with the 4 in it, I don't include it with my flat third into third trick licks, or my 6 into 7 tricks lines that I'm doing with that, because then it ends up being smoothing things out too much and being too much of a common note, that there's too many ideas happening, and it kind of jumbles, blends everything together, and kind of stops sounding like really tasty blues. But if you use it on its own, we talked about that last time. But another reason I found out, or at least it makes sense to me, whether this is completely factual or not, but it's the I believe it's the one note of there's one change where you can be going to the 4, but it's the one note of the next chord. So it's kind of like you're arriving at the change. You're kind of spelling out the change to the next chord too early. So that's why, like, going to the 4 very deliberately doesn't sound like the blues, because you're just simply making the change too early. It sounds like you've misjudged when the chord change was supposed to happen. All right. That being said, but that would take some deeper, uh, more than it would be a tangent on today's lesson. So we got to move on here. We're going back to the 1 really quickly. So it's just about as soon as I've played around with just that much, and oh yeah, while I'm back here, notice this up here. There's also the oh no, that was a mistake. I'm sorry. I meant to erase these earlier. This is from another shape idea. That disregard this information, please. Okay, so there's a basic playground. Other notes for you to discover. Like I said, I know this is it myself. I know this is coming from a larger master shape. You can see I can get down the whole fretboard just by visualizing a couple of simple shapes that I no more than 4 notes. The 4 notes of the chord. But that's like I said, another lesson. So where I'm going back to that 1 chord, I'm just going to basically want to have that visualization in my head ahead of time. Some things I'm not going to visualize, but I'm going to kind of know is that this is going to be from the chord I was on, playing the 4 chord. This is the 5 of that 4 chord, but it's turning back into the 1. So I want to go to a 5 to be on the 1. So you might want to just kind of know that that's where you're traveling from. If your thinking is still on the old chord, or if you're thinking in terms of the chord you're going to, you want to think about, I'm going to the 1. Or someone might think I'm going to the 5 because that's where I want to be when I get to the new chord. Whatever the case may be, whichever way you think about it, fine. Just handy things to know. The 2 is going to become a 5, and that 3 is going to become a 6. So anyways, I would have the 1, 3, 5, 6 of my next chord, the 1. And I'm back to that playground. I might think of this shape just to get through the quick part of going back to the 1 before it becomes the 5 again. So and we've already gone. And now we're back to the 1. Now right there, we're going to want to get into this 5 chord. What do? Well, if we remember that the 5 is simply a whole step up from the 4, same basic triad of a 1-3-5, and that flatted 7 are, well, 4-note chord. Anyways, long story short, same exact shape as the 4. Easy. So we're just going to basically do what we just did with the 4 up a whole step. Not too hard. We just kind of want to know how can we make a smooth transition in there? How can we make a smooth transition back to the 4? So here, what we have for our last sheet here is how I might conceptualize, get into that 5. The colored notes here are the where I was in the 1. You might want to remember the overlapping notes here. You know, this is going to be, if I'm still thinking about my 1 chord, this is obviously how we talked about our 6 and our 7, the cream puff note, the midnight purple note. And so those are ways to get into the 5 chord. Those 2 notes will technically blend in, but the flat 7 is going to become the flat 3rd, which is going to need to be probably resolved into the 3. So that's going to be, you're going to have to see what you think, what you like about that. You're going to just remember there's no hard and fast rules to some of these changes. You just got to know your roadmap, and then here, get under your fingers, the sound of the basic little pattern of notes here, and see what you like during the change. What sounds good to you? What sounds like something someone else did that you like, or all that kind of stuff. Because chances are, if it sounds good, it's been well treaded on at this point. Because there's only there's a whole bunch of combinations, but basically only so many really to be original, I guess. So anyways, you can hear that. So anyways, so if I'm going from the 1 and I've got to go, and so that's a note that needs to resolve anyway, so I might not really kind of want to end my little detail on the 1 chord there, but if I did, I don't know, that was a little bit of a stretch there. Come on, that flat 3rd when this chord hits. So I can see it kind of working as long as the next note is that sharp 3rd. It actually seems like a very viable way to get from the 1 chord to the other. So you'd be on that 5 there. And you want to get back to that 4. I've walked back down to the 2 in this riff, and that is going to be the 3 of the 4, because it's the same, basically, where my plus sign is. If I move this down a whole step, I'm on this note now, 14th fret, but it's going to be this when the shape shifts down for the 4. So it's going to be up to you to find tasty ways to get from the 5. The only thing I was a little bit wary about with this certain shape is that the walk down, the turnaround area that I like, and you don't have to do this every time, it's just something that's possible, and probably pretty cliche, but maybe that's going to scream, hey, I'm, fresh out of guitar lessons with the blues, here I am on stage, to the old professionals, but at least you're walking through they'll be glad you're getting through and you're not wanking minor pentatonic trying to fake your way through it. So you got, that's a little high up there on the fretboard. You could be down here, you're walking back down to the major, just a 2-part harmony for the major, for the 1, the E major, dominant 7, but you're only playing the flat third and the root, which works. Um, um, and you can find that, I think, down there, and then slide up here. Whatever that B note, mystery B note is. Oh, right here. My bad. And then you could be, if you were ended up right down there at the turnaround, you could now play the first shape, the first pattern that we discussed in the first lesson, which is the same as here. So, alright, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I got enough there, I'm sure, to get through, understand what we were talking about in this lesson, to get all the visualizations of the second pattern. Next, we're going to connect it all. We're going to see how it connects through the chord scale, which is a 4-note scale that you create from just the chord tones, which is very, very helpful. And we'll make a lesson also showing the importance of doing that. And I've got another trick to where, and a very similar thing to how I showed you this, how the Dorian pattern can work in there. There is a way to use 2 different Dorian scale shapes to create 2 different effects of sounds, which is just simply another in a long list of bag of tricks available for the blues, that are out there that you can come up with and or at least arrive at, if anybody else has probably already got a claim to fame on any idea. That sounds halfway reasonable, but yeah, combinations are still endless. Thank you for watching. Again, check out the coffee, buy me a coffee thing, because we love coffee on this channel. So throw a little bit of coffee money in the jar if you can, if you got anything out of this lesson. We appreciate that so much. It all goes into making sure that this channel costs are covered. That being said, there's also the new Mind's Eye merchandise store, which is basically designs on some items that you find commonly on these sites, like T-shirts and stickers and stuff. Check out that, because there's always new designs in there, and I try to add one channel themed design as we for every other. I don't know if I do that, but I don't know. I got more regular designs in there, but there should be some stuff that you really see as Mind's Eye visual guitar method kind of stuff, and get a coffee mug. I think that'd be a really cool way to suggest the channel, maybe more so than a t-shirt, but I don't know, t-shirts are cool. Get a t-shirt, get a hoodie. And we'll check you later. I hope you enjoyed these lessons, and we'll see you next week on something new. Thank you for watching.